There are days when your body refuses to move. The alarm rings, sunlight floods your room, yet you lay there, paralyzed, carrying weights no one else can see. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You're exhausted, caught in the middle of a war no one around you even notices. This isn't ordinary fatigue, it's spiritual depletion. If you clicked on this video, it's no accident. You're here because you're a chosen one, quietly collapsing under spiritual battles, hidden burdens, and prayers that feel ignored. Your bed has silently transformed into a battlefield, your room into a cave of isolation. Yet even in this hidden war zone, God's presence remains constant, unwavering, quietly sitting beside you in the darkness. And this moment, it's not your defeat. It's your preparation for a breakthrough bigger than you can imagine. Before we dive deeper, if you feel this message is already resonating with your spirit, hit the like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because every video here is crafted especially for your spiritual journey. And most importantly, comment 99 down below. Spiritually, the number 99 represents divine completion of your silent battles, declaring an end to hidden suffering and marking the start of your restoration. Are you ready? Because what you're about to hear next will change everything. They see your body lying still and assume you're resting, but they have no idea what it takes to simply stay alive when your soul is crumbling from the inside. They don't hear the voices echoing in your mind. They don't feel the crushing weight pressing on your chest before you even open your eyes. They don't see the battlefield happening under the covers because the enemy has learned how to attack you in silence. You're not in bed because you're lazy. You're not withdrawing because you gave up. You're lying down because you're fighting to stay human in a world that's tried to break you at every level. And no one knows how many times you've saved yourself in the dark, with no applause, no witness, no reward. This is the war no one talks about. The spiritual war waged in stillness. The emotional combat that takes place behind closed doors. The mental struggle that doesn't leave visible scars, but leaves you shattered on the inside. People say things like, just get up, shake it off, pray harder. But they don't know that getting up feels like climbing a mountain with no oxygen. That praying feels like whispering into a void with no echo. That shaking it off would require strength you haven't had in weeks. You've become a master at hiding it, smiling when you're internally screaming, functioning when you feel like fainting, showing up when every fiber of your body wants to disappear. But what they call weakness, heaven calls resistance. What they mistake as avoidance, heaven sees as warfare. Because here's what most don't realize. Chosen ones don't always fight with swords. Sometimes, your greatest weapon is the decision to stay alive one more day, to breathe again tomorrow, to not answer the darkness when it calls your name. And even when your body doesn't rise, your spirit refuses to die. There are battles that happen without motion, victories that occur without noise, miracles that are born in moments of complete stillness. And if you're hearing this, it's because you've already survived the kind of nights that would have crushed most people. But don't get comfortable yet, because in the next few moments you'll discover why this war is so personal and what it's trying to keep you from stepping into. And once you see that, you'll never look at your exhaustion the same again. Keep watching. Something's coming, and it's not what you expect. They told you that if you had enough faith, you wouldn't feel like this. That if you really trusted God, you wouldn't be lying there, numb, confused, detached. They made you believe that spiritual strength means smiling through the storm, praying without pause, and rising without hesitation. But that's not the truth. That's performance. And what you're going through is not a lack of faith. It's a sign that you've been standing on the front lines of a spiritual war for too long without backup. Let me say it clearly. Even the anointed get tired. Even the called collapse. Even those marked by heaven cry out in silence when no one is watching. Do you remember Elijah? The prophet who called down fire from heaven, ended up hiding in a cave, begging God to take his life. Jeremiah. He wept so much they called him the weeping prophet. And Jesus, yes, even Jesus, the Messiah himself, felt so pressed by the weight of his assignment in Gethsemane that his sweat turned into blood. So, what makes you think that your fatigue disqualifies you? What makes you believe that just because you're tired, you're no longer chosen? Let me break that lie right now. Your fatigue doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. It makes you human. It makes you honest before God. You've been holding it together for so long, praying for others while no one prays for you, showing up strong for people who would never carry you in return, answering calls, wiping tears, encouraging souls, while your own spirit has been slowly unraveling. This is the hidden exhaustion of the chosen. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're carrying something sacred. Chosen ones aren't just born with purpose. They're forged through pressure. You've been stretched, drained, pushed to your limit, not because you're weak, but because God trusted you with something that can't be carried by the average. But here's the truth that will shift everything. You're not meant to carry it alone. Even Jesus needed someone to help him carry the cross. So why are you still trying to prove your strength by suffering in silence? That exhaustion you feel, it's not failure. It's an invitation to slow down, to let go, to stop pretending you're fine when you're bleeding behind the scenes, to crawl into the arms of the one who knows you're tired and doesn't shame you for it. Because there's a kind of rest the world can't offer. There's a peace that doesn't come from closing your eyes, but from finally laying down what was never yours to carry alone. And once you surrender, once you stop trying to earn your worth through performance, something inside of you shifts. But don't get it twisted. That shift doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes in a whisper, in a sigh, in the sacred silence between breakdown and breakthrough. And in the next part of this message, I'll show you where your real enemy is hiding. It's not always outside. Sometimes it's the voice inside your own mind. And once you recognize it, the battle changes. Don't miss this next part. Your freedom is closer than it feels. For most people, a bed is a place of peace, a sanctuary of rest, a place where the body shuts down and the mind lets go. But for you, the chosen one, the bed has become something else entirely. It's not just a mattress. It's not just sheets and pillows. It's a war zone. Because when the world finally goes quiet, that's when they start speaking. The demons don't shout. They whisper. Whispers that sound like your own thoughts. You're not enough. You're falling behind. You're a burden. God's forgotten you. And lying there in the stillness, with the lights off and your heart racing, those whispers don't feel like lies. They feel like truth. It's in bed that fear grows teeth, where depression drapes itself over your chest like a weighted blanket, where the silence is so loud it drowns out every scripture you've ever memorized, and you begin to wonder if this is what life will always feel like. Your bed, which should be a place of recovery, becomes a cage, and every time you try to rise, Those invisible chains tighten, pulling you back into that same spiral. But here's what no one else sees. You're not just lying there. You're fighting. Not against flesh and blood, but against spirits of discouragement, hopelessness, and spiritual sabotage. You are not resting. You are resisting. And while the enemy uses the bed to torment you in your most vulnerable state, what he didn't count on was God meeting you there too. Yes, God, the same God who split seas and raised the dead. He's been sitting on the edge of that very bed, watching over you, not judging, not scolding, just staying present, staying silent when he needs to, but staying. He's the one who catches the tears you can't explain, the one who heard that whisper when you said, "I can't do this anymore." The one who saw the moment you curled up and said, "God, please, just hold me." You didn't need to quote verses. You didn't need perfect words. You didn't need strength. Because sometimes the most powerful prayer is a cry into a pillow soaked with invisible warfare. And God responded. He responded with mercy, with angels who warred on your behalf when you didn't even know a battle was raging, with peace that didn't take away the pain, but gave you just enough breath to wake up the next morning, with grace that covered you when shame was screaming that you weren't worthy. Because even on your worst days, especially on your worst days, he refuses to walk away. This is not just your bed. It's your altar. It's your battleground. It's your proof that you can survive the nights when darkness surrounds you and your purpose still calls your name. Because here's the twist no one tells you. The place where the enemy whispers the loudest is often the same place where your purpose is being forged in silence. So don't underestimate the war that happens between the sheets. Because what looks like isolation is often initiation. And in the next part, we'll go even deeper into the reason your soul feels things others can't explain, and why what you sense may be the very clue to unlocking what you're destined to become. Stay with me. Your sensitivity is not a curse. It's a spiritual key. You've walked into places and instantly felt the shift. No one said a word, no one gave you a look, but something changed. The room felt heavier, the air thicker, your chest tighter. And you couldn't explain why because no one else noticed, but you did. You've had days where you woke up with a weight that didn't belong to you, sadness that wasn't yours, anxiety that came out of nowhere, emotional waves that hit without warning, and you wondered, what's wrong with me? But let me speak a truth that will pierce through your confusion. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not too sensitive. You're not overreacting. You're spiritually wired, built by God to feel what others can't even see. And that kind of gift, it doesn't come without a cost. You weren't called to walk in crowds unnoticed. You were designed to move through atmospheres and shift them without saying a word, to feel the oppression in someone's soul before they even admit they're hurting, to detect deception behind polished smiles, to sense danger before it arrives, to absorb spiritual signals that others ignore. That's why you can't tolerate surface-level conversations anymore. Why you're drained by small talk. Why you crave depth, silence, truth. And why certain people suddenly feel unbearable to be around. You were never meant to blend in. You were made to perceive what's hidden. But with that perception comes a unique type of pain. Because when you feel too much, you carry burdens that were never yours to begin with. You mourn over what others mock. You pray for people who curse you. You cry for those who'd never cry for you. And sometimes, You isolate not because you're broken, but because you're overwhelmed by everything your spirit has picked up in the noise. This is why rest doesn't always fix you, because sleep doesn't clear spiritual downloads. Only presence does. Only time with God quiets the overload, because He's the only one who understands the language of your sensitivity. You are not emotionally unstable. You are prophetically tuned. You hear heaven louder. You notice spiritual attacks faster. You feel divine grief when others are still distracted by gossip and entertainment. And the enemy knows. If he can make you believe your sensitivity is a weakness, you'll silence your discernment. You'll numb your awareness. You'll start believing the lie that you're just too emotional to be effective. But here's the truth. Your sensitivity is your signal. It's how heaven speaks through you. It's how angels warn you. It's how the Spirit leads you to places others avoid. You were never called to be ordinary. Ordinary people don't feel the shift in the air. Ordinary people don't wake up weeping for nations. Ordinary people don't cry out for souls they've never met. You are spiritually awake, spiritually charged, spiritually dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. And yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, you feel misunderstood more often than not. But it's part of your design, part of your assignment, part of what makes you unstoppable when you finally own it. So the next time someone says, "You're too sensitive," smile. Because what they see as sensitivity, heaven sees as a divine instrument of spiritual perception. And in the next moment of this message, we'll uncover the final, secret war you've been fighting. The one that attacks not just your strength, but your very desire to keep going. And once you understand why that war has intensified lately, you'll never question your worth again. Keep watching, because the most dangerous part of your journey is also where your greatest power is about to rise. Let's talk about the part no one dares to mention, the moment you've rehearsed in silence, but never had the courage to speak aloud. That thought, that deep, hollow ache that says, "What if I just disappeared?" Not out of drama, not to get attention, but because everything feels too loud, too heavy, too much. You fantasized about silence. Not peace, but absence. Not healing, but vanishing. There were days when even breathing felt like a burden, when your name felt foreign in your own mouth, when the world kept spinning, and you just wanted to pause everything and step out. But hear this. That urge doesn't make you broken. It doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. A human being who's been carrying God-sized weights on a soul that's been bleeding in secret. You've been the strong one. The one who holds others together while falling apart internally. The one who shows up, smiles, delivers, uplifts, while screaming for someone to notice that you're not okay. And the truth? You got tired not because you're undisciplined, but because you've been alone in the fight for far too long. Spiritual isolation is real, and it's especially intense for the chosen, because your battles are too sacred to be explained. Your burdens, too divine to be carried by just anyone. You don't just fight for yourself. You fight for generations. You fight for legacies. You fight for things people mock because they have no idea what it costs to carry a mantle like yours. And in that exhaustion, the enemy waits. He doesn't need to destroy you. He just wants you to walk away from your own destiny. But even when everything inside you screamed to let go, even when quitting felt like the only mercy left, something flickered. A whisper. A breath. A pulse in your spirit that wouldn't die. It didn't shout. It didn't force. It simply stayed. And that flicker? It's sacred. It's the part of you God planted before you were even born. The ember He buried deep within you that says, Not yet. Don't quit. There's still more. You may not feel strong. You may not feel holy. You may not even feel awake. But the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still watching this video, is proof that your story isn't finished. You don't have to rise with perfection. You don't have to rise with answers. You don't even have to rise with energy. You just have to rise with willingness. Even if your hands are trembling, even if your voice shakes, even if your eyes are swollen from crying all night. Rise anyway, because the enemy's greatest fear was never your fall. It was your comeback. He's terrified that you'll rise from the ashes with fire in your eyes and a testimony in your mouth. That you'll return stronger, wiser, louder, and more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than ever before. You felt like giving up. But what if I told you, the very moment you almost let go, was the moment right before everything begins to shift? Stay right here, because in the conclusion, I'm about to tell you what all this pain has been leading to, and why your survival wasn't random, but prophetic. You've carried enough. Now it's time to walk into what was always meant to be yours. Listen to me. If today all you could do was breathe, if your only victory was opening your eyes and whispering, "God, I'm still here," then you've already conquered what crushed others. Heaven saw it, hell feared it, and the earth felt it. Because when a chosen one rises, even in silence, even in slow motion, something in the spirit realm shifts. You didn't survive this long to go unnoticed. You weren't carried through hell just to go back to hiding. That bed wasn't your prison. It was your proving ground. That silence wasn't your shame. It was your sacred cocoon. And that exhaustion? It wasn't weakness. It was evidence that you've been wrestling with angels. And your name is about to change. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not too far gone. You are becoming the version of you that darkness tried to kill. Becoming the voice you once needed to hear. Becoming the light that cracks open rooms full of despair. Every tear was a seed. Every silence, a sentence in your testimony. Every breakdown, a blueprint for your rise. So when you stand up, even if you stagger, you are fulfilling prophecy. You are activating power. You are walking in resurrection. God never left you in that bed. He sat beside you. He fought for you. He waited with you. And now, He's rising with you. So rise, chosen one. Not because you're ready, but because you're called. Not because you feel strong, but because your assignment can't wait anymore. Even if you rise in pieces, you are still rising with power. Comment below, "I choose to rise." Let heaven take note. Let hell tremble. Let every lying voice in your mind go silent. Because you're not done. You're just getting started. And the next time your feet touch the floor, the ground will remember a warrior just stood up. Get ready. Because now, everything shifts.